Today on Truck Tech, our Denali gets bigger tires for bigger burnouts. Plus, Austin's truck goes kaput.
Hey man, I think I found the problem. They circled it right here.
Funny.
Yeah, baby! Woo-hoo! Yeah! So we've all got that phone call from our buddy. You know the one I'm talking about? Early in the morning, goes something like this. Hey man, my truck broke down. I can't make it into work. Could you help me out? Well, just today, I got that call from Austin. Now, you know his truck, it's a 2008 Ford F-250. It's got the 6.4 liter Powerstroke underneath the hood, and he loves that truck. He hot rods it, he hauls gooseneck trailers with it, and believe me, he does plenty of burnouts. Now, for some reason, it's not running right, so we're gonna take a quick look and see if there's anything we can do to get him back on the road, and if not, well, I guess he's gonna ride to work. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, bruh.
What's going on?
Well, not really running at the moment.
It's not.
Nope.
Well, I'll leave the obvious Ford jokes kind of over here for now. We'll get, believe me, I've got plenty of time for Ford jokes, but tell me what happened. What's
I'm
going
sure
on?
you do. Well, go grab a bite to eat last night, cruise around, running fine, full of power, as always. This morning, I plan on meeting you early for work. Crank it up, blah, 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 spit and sputter like a sick dog, dude.
So does it run at all? Like what's going on?
It runs, but it does spit oil out everywhere. Exhaust, breather,
Well,
you know.
I guess why don't you start it up and just let me hear what's going on first of all.
No shortage of oil coming out the exhaust or the breather.
That's not good.
Just gonna fair warn you.
But it still runs though, right?
For a minute, yeah.
For a minute. Oh. That is not the sound that you want to hear first thing in the morning. So you're telling me it was running fine last night and it just started like this morning?
Yeah, no problems, dude, really, until I cranked it up. I mean, when the head gasket was on the way out.
That's not a head gasket, buddy.
No, that's a cracked piston.
Well, there is one way you can tell for sure, kind of, at least to isolate where the problem's coming from. Take off the oil fill cap. Now, there's not supposed to be any or hardly any vapor in here, and I can kind of already tell what's going on.
Let your hand off.
All right, let's see what we got. Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't see smoke like that.
It might not have had anything to do with the fact that you were doing burnouts and hauling gooseneck trailers all over the place, but...
As if. I drive very normal.
It might have, I don't know. Hey man, go rev that thing up. Just kind of curious how bad it really is.
Oh, you ready to see some serious smoke?
Woohoo! Yeah!
Not the best thing you ever heard, huh?
Hold on, one more. Man, you got smoke in the garage, smoke under the hood.
Well, I gotta say, this is not the first time I've been in this situation. After a lifetime of owning Fords and being in a family full of them, well, this is the sign of a cracked piston or fuel wash cylinder, and probably more than one. You got no compression, and at least one or two, you can hear that obviously with the motor running, and so much blow by you can't even see, and it's setting my fire alarm off in the garage. God, I love that way to start a day.
So how many miles you got on this thing?
About 185,000. I figured it was gonna happen sooner or later.
Well, I hate to point out the obvious and all, but that Duramax I've got, it's got 225,000 miles on it, and all the pistons are still in one piece.
Yeah, and half the power. Go figure. Safe bet, huh?
Hey, well, this is clearly something we're not gonna fix today, so why don't we pack it up here and head on to work?
This is obviously not going anywhere. Work on something else.
So, what are your thoughts? You've got the 08 F-250. You got a lot of work ahead of you either way, but you know, what direction do you want to go?
Yeah, dude, honestly, we know it's not gonna be an easy fix, right? These are hard bottom end parts.
Oh, and the thing is too, with the Ford, you got to pull the cab off to be able to get to any of those parts.
Oh,
so it's
yeah.
like,
It's a 30, 40-hour job. Here's basically the options. Option one, you call Ford up, you get another motor, it's one part number. You order it up, you could swap it, drop it right in, ready to go.
but hold on though, what does that cost, especially from the dealership? Because I know that ain't cheap.
15 grand.
What's just say a remanufactured long block? What's that going to run you?
A reman long block, 6 to 8,000, somewhere up in there, 6 to 8 grand. It'll basically be back to stock power levels, right?
Now, let's say you went all out, you built this thing to handle 800 horse, you got, the bigger injection pump, bigger injectors, the turbos. Roughly parts-wise and labor, what do you think it would cost just to do the whole thing?
20 grand.
Well, it looks like we've boiled it down to this. Got a coin here. You got two options, really. That's the only way I see it.
I have to decide right now.
Hey, we could let fate decide. Either we fully build this truck. I say you. Either you fully build this truck, go nuts with it, or buy a new one. Heads or tails?
What's what?
Heads is new aluminum duty, tails is build the 6.4.
Okay.
You ready?
Tails.
Heads, new aluminum duty it is.
So I gotta buy a new
You
aluminum.
gotta buy a new truck. I'll call up the junkyard right now.
I think I'm gonna need more than 20 grand for that.
Next, we'll tear into Dragonali.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
Well, I must say, it does feel pretty good finally being behind the wheel of a truck that actually works, even though it's a GMC and all,
What does that mean, even though it's a GMC? This is a Denali. This is way better than that XLT Ford you had or whatever.
True. Well, it's a running truck, so I'll take it. But hey, on the way over here, these tires were rubbing pretty hard. Do we even have fender left we could trim, or did it eat it all up?
Oh no, it just kissed it a little bit. We're actually pretty good. Now, one of the reasons why we have to trim on a vehicle that's lowered and has wheels that stick out further is because as you turn left and right, the wheels are going to be pushed farther frontwards and farther backwards. Go right a little bit. Now, up front here, it's not that big of a deal. The wheel just kind of kisses this plastic valance down here. It's simple trim, and there's no metal work required on the front bumper. But on the back, that's a different story altogether. We are going to have to do just a little bit of metal work. From this corner up, we're perfect. But down below, we're going to have to cut this fender back just a little bit all the way to the inner rocker. We'll do a little bit of metal work, but it's really not as bad as it sounds.
All right, let me hop out of this thing so we can make some progress.
Well, I figured you'd just take a nap up there or something.
No, I'm going to show you how to cut these fenders.
Well, how are you getting down?
You going to catch me?
Here, how about this? Oh, that was really awkward.
So moral of the story, we got to move some metal to make some room for that tire. Now don't worry about cutting up this old truck. We're not going to ruin anything. We're just basically trimming here and there. If you notice on the bottom of this fender, there's a bolt holding it together. We're not going to go past that. We'll make one cut here, fold this panel flat so we can access that whole pinch seam. Cut the top and bottom of the pinch seam, beat it flat, fold this back up like it never even happened. Now we're not going to go crazy here. We're cutting just enough to get the clearance we need. And this quick fix will work on any GM truck from 07 to 2014. Well, hard part's done. Now for the front, it's plastic. We'll just tape it up for a cut line. We could heat it up, use a razor blade, get it nice and clean. But I use a cutoff wheel because it's just a lot more fun, really. Got her. With the clearance issues taken care of, there's one quick, easy upgrade that'll improve the ride quality. Figure what better time to swap the shocks out than when the big tire and wheel's not in the way, right? So you might wonder how you know your shocks are bad and when you should change them. Well, they do have a shelf life. They only last so long, right? As you can see, I mean, it's kind of hard to compress and it rebounds fairly quickly. Well, the old one, you compress it and it does nothing, just stays put. So out with the old and with the new.
Now, normally our fender modification would be done at this point. We could throw the wheel liners back in and bolt on the tires and drive down the road with no rubbing in sight. But there is one more thing that we need to correct, and that's the front bumper, because somewhere along the way, probably in a parking lot, the truck just got bumped and it pushed the bumper back and in just enough to interfere with the tire. So there's a couple different ways we could fix it.
Now, typically this would be pretty simple. You just loosen up the brackets like I did, have a buddy yank on this thing, hold it in place, cinch them back down. This one's a little more twisted and it just wants to go right back where it started. So easier bet, power tools.
We need something with a little bit more force and control. Now, this is a porta-power. Basically, it's a small hydraulic jack that you can use to push metal exactly where you want it. Hold it while you tighten up the bolts. There's a couple different parts. There's a pump, then there's the ram itself. All you do is combine the two with the right attachments and you'll be good to go.
The little rod and flat part.
All right.
That works.
Cool.
Let's see. Beautiful.
All right, ready? Our 10-ton hydraulic body repair kit from Matco Tools is perfect for jobs like moving sheet metal or even straightening out bent frames in heavy-duty truck applications.
About right there.
Or more. Sure. All right.
Next, eliminating axle wrap.
A while back when we lowered the rear end of this truck, we also took out the overload leaf spring. Now, this gained us an extra inch of drop and it also made the truck ride quite a bit smoother since that's a very stiff spring. But the one thing that we gained is actually a negative, and that's axle wrap. So in order to cure that, we installed these CalTracs traction bars that we picked up from Summit Racing. Now basically it's a pretty simple design and it all pivots off the front eye of the leaf spring. As the axle pushes forward, the bar gets pushed ahead, and this top pivot, well, when it's at ride height, it'll be almost touching the top of the leaf spring. This guy here is going to be driven down and it pushes the whole axle into the ground, increasing traction and preventing wheel hop. So to get started, basically we just got to pull the whole spring off to access that front bushing.
A little more pressure, a little less pressure.
So really the trickiest part of installing CalTracs is up here on the front of the leaf spring. Now, Austin, lower that down a little bit if you would. This rubber bushing provides a nice, smooth, comfortable ride when you're driving your truck down the highway. But in order for the CalTracs to work properly, we need to remove the rubber bushing and replace it with a solid aluminum sleeve. That means there's a lot of work ahead of you because that thing is pressed in there really good. So all we're gonna do is remove the entire spring pack from the vehicle because it's not that hard. Do the work over at the press.
Toss them in that impact, I'll zip the U-bolts off and then
Zip away.
we'll handle rear shackle. Ooh, not as
Turn it.
light as I
There we
thought.
go.
You got it?
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
All right, to the press. Now, I know that we're pretty lucky and all having these tools like a hydraulic shot press to get this kind of work done. But believe me, if you have the tools, you've got to take advantage of it because it makes the job so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody has an overhead crane and such too, huh? Wish I had 2 arms.
Well, you know, the one good thing about taking the spring off of the truck is even if you don't have these fancy tools, you can still use something like a hammer. You're gonna have to put that up here, buddy, to
see that.
to hold it, hold it flat. Yeah, even if you don't have these fancy tools, you know, having this on a bench with a big hammer, it'll still make the job a whole lot easier over trying to do this still with a spring in the truck. Come down just a little bit. A little more right there.
Yeah, I mean, a few ways you could do it. Take a torch to this thing, burn it out. then it catches on fire and stinks up your shop.
You know, I've seen guys do that. Yeah, definitely makes a huge mess, makes a huge stink. All right, stand back. We're spreading on some Permatex nickel anti-seize lubricant to prevent corrosion between dissimilar metals, in this case, aluminum and steel. Kind of tip it like that, get over the axle.
Yeah, I'll get the bolt in this back shackle. Go forward.
I think we need to go from the front, huh?
Oh, we got
There we go.
Tilt her back.
Got it.
I think we're in. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, now let's get this front on. Not the appropriate tool for what we're doing, but it works. Making sure the sticker is out, of course. Put a little bit of grease on the inner steel sleeve so we got no squeaking or rattling or any other unwelcome noises. All right, Austin, can you jack that axle up for me just a hair?
I can't see.
All right. So now that we have the weight of the truck on the suspension, we need to adjust the length of the rod end so this top little roller thing here basically contacts the top of the leaf spring. Going the wrong way. You don't want to make this thing too tight and put a lot of preload in it, just enough so it barely contacts right there. Then we'll lock down the jam nuts.
Now that we got it sitting at right height, let's see if we actually trimmed enough. Looks good. And turn the other way. A little closer than I would like, but definitely clears. And you probably noticed we left the inner fender out, but that's because we're about to yank the motor anyway, and that's weight savings.
And you know, it's one thing to test this sitting static in a shop without moving, but the real test is when we get this thing out on the road. So we'll get her outside, and we also need a chance to test those traction bars.
That's a good plan. And we'll do just that coming up.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
Didn't know it was gonna rain today, but looks like a 100% chance. How depressing is this?
Well, it might not be the most accurate representation of what a traction bar would do, but hey, this way we know the wheels won't rub, and what better way to cheer you up after getting that news about your truck?
You know what I like.
That's kind of weird to say, but I do.
See, that's what I like. Keep going, baby.
Come on,
keep it
truck.
going,
Come
keep it
on.
going, keep it going,
Come on,
keep it
Rob.
going. Woohoo!
Yeah. Oh, that was pretty close. Steer
We're good.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, what did that say? Cool and warm. 200 warm.
Oh, that was great. Go again.
All right. I got some bad news for you, buddy.
What's that there, partner?
Well, according to the official burnout rating device here, we only destroyed about a half of a 32nd of tread depth. Now, these are pretty good tires, but that's a pretty poor burnout in my book.
Dude, that is a weak sauce, but a burnout is better than no burnout, but we need more power for sure.
Yeah, basically we're working with a stock engine right now. We've been talking for some time about the plans that we have for this truck, and that all starts today. We're gonna make a whole lot more horsepower, but before we do anything, the entire stock drivetrain is gonna come out.
For sure, you know, typically from the factory, it's a safe bet up to about 600 horse, but you push anything more than that, you need to go through that bottom end, and that's new connecting rods, new pistons. Since you're there, might as well put a new cool new cam in it too.
You know, that's kind of funny though, because your truck failed at a lot less than 600 horsepower.
500-ish.
Maybe 500. No, basically everything's coming out. Like you said, new rods, new pistons, and there's a couple different ways we could go about that job.
Yeah, for sure. We'll yank the transmission or transfer case to the bottom. Be easy. We're putting a heavy-duty trans anyway, so.
All right, got a stand set up in the back.
That was a first. Didn't even break a clip. $75% in the bucket. Success.
I've got to say, that little bit of extra effort it took to take the grill and the front end apart is going to pay dividends. Because, I mean, look how easy it is to access all these connections. Plus, when we take it out, we don't have to worry about denting anything.
For sure. Now, we didn't have to rip the whole front end apart just to yank the motor. We could have kept the intercooler and radiator in place, but why not? It's going to be torn apart for a while and makes it easy. You know?
Yeah, and that's what it all comes down to, easy. And the whole point of what we're doing right now is to remove the motor, put it on a stand, and completely disassemble it so we can remove and replace the pistons and connecting rods. Those are the two things that won't work with the amount of power that we have planned for this truck. Speaking of pistons and connecting rods, though, have you had a chance to think about your 6.4 and what you want to do to it?
Well, cracked pistons equals a lot of money and a lot of work. So, as soon as we finish this up, I'm gonna go look at a new truck.
What you got in mind?
Well, it'll be new to me. 2017 Duty, baby.
Powerstroke, right?
250.
All right, well, let me know when you do get it. We'll put some exhaust or some stuff on it.
Black platinum.